welcome back to Jeff Walker Books Discussion. I am a little under the weather right now, but so if my voice and I start coughing a bit, that's just me. Yeah. The season has brought some rather interesting stuff for me. Anyway, we're going to discuss about the unpublishing of my first book, the Distant Saga Trilogy. Why am I doing this? Well, it didn't do very well, and I think it's time to retire that edition. So I will try to redo the edition eventually, and I will start to expand on the stories. I still think they're salvageable, except for the time travel one I shoved in there. Now, a long time ago, I wrote these books. Well, I wrote these short stories. And the time travel one was way back in, I think it was early 2000s or 99. I can't remember. I had published it on a website. I think it was some sort of science fiction Christianity website. So I couldn't have a whole lot of descriptive stuff on there. But I tried to publish it in this book, and I don't know why I did. I obviously knew it was not a good story, and I just shoved it in there. Anyway, I had to be proud of it, because when I was publishing the book, I was proud to have these stories as part of the collective. Because they all dealt with tragedy, and that was the whole thing about the trilogy part, that it was it was a trilogy of tragedies. And so I described it. And now looking upon it, I thought, what the heck was I thinking about that? Pardon me. And so here we are again. So yeah, I unpublished it. It's just time to retire that edition. So I'll try to redo it, and I'll even put in the old stories so that you can reference it if you really want to. I'm not going to expand on the time travel one, just because it was an obvious reference to Terminator. For some reason, I was just heavily influenced in that. But I thought it was a great story at the time. At the time, I did. But this book was my very first book, published book. And I think that I learned a lot since that book. I didn't want to discontinue the book. I mean, I fought for a bit. But then I thought, even the audio is not doing that well. And I can't get a hold of the guy that did the voice for the narration of it. I was trying to see if I could cancel that book, but I have to get his permission, because I did that Audible where you share the royalty, and you need his approval to remove this book. But when I contacted him, I couldn't get a hold of him. So I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing. Nathaniel, whatever his name is. I don't even think it was Nathaniel. It was something else. But the book just didn't catch on. Some people liked the book. I had put it into the reader's favorite one time, and lo and behold, somebody read it and liked it and put 5 stars to it. And I was like, what? It's because every other person on Goodreads didn't seem to enjoy it. And I don't blame them, to be honest with you. The first story was, I think, okay. A bit boring. Even the guy narrating the book seemed a bit bored in that one. But I was, I was just trying out as a writer at the first time. The story, The Cure, in that book was my very first original idea of a story. And it was good for what it was. And, my wife, then girlfriend at the time, had edited it for me. And she helped to shape the ending of the book, or the ending of that story. And I didn't like it. As much as I love her, I didn't like the way she wanted me to end it on a tragedy. And I was like, are you sure? Because this could go into other things. She's like, no, just end it, and then you can start all over again. I was like, okay. And then I did, and I had originally sent this story off to a magazine, I believe it was, in somewhere in Ontario. And they sent it back to me saying that they couldn't publish this because they didn't know what to label it as. And that it was, the ending was terrible. And I was like, oh. And, but I published it anyway. Go figure on that. Anyway, it's been a long time coming for this book. I published this in 2015, but I'm pretty sure I wrote it in 2011. I didn't get really a computer until the next year or thereabouts to start creating this. Like I had another computer, and it was old. And then I got a laptop for the first time, and that was when I had to learn everything about publishing. There was really nothing for me. I mean, I didn't even know where to begin. How to format, how to edit, how to do any of that stuff. This was all me learning things as I went because I had basically zero time to do this. I wrote this when I was injured after a job injury. And it took me about 6 months to recoup, so I had time to work on it since then. But it was frustrating because I didn't have any idea of how to do anything to get a book published. So I went to Blurb, and I found Blurb, and I tried to put it on there, but it required a way to format it yourself somehow. And so I had a program called Quark Express. And at the time, that's what I knew, because I used to be a graphic designer, and I said, oh, Quark Express, that's what you use for magazines for when you're putting stuff in. And I thought, well, you could use that for writing stuff, too. But first you had to do everything in Word, and then you had to transfer it to Quark Express to set it all up. And then from there on, the files just got jumbled, and there was a lot of spacing issues, and it was just a mess. It was just a hot mess. Forgive me again. So I did get it onto Blurb, even though it was a jumble. And the first issue came out, and it was awful. I hated it. The book was way too thick. I didn't know what size, what everything I was doing. So when I got the first issue, it was like terrible. I didn't like it. So then I found, I believe it was Kindle at the time. And then I tried to publish through them. I didn't want to at first, but then I thought, well, there's no other way of doing it. And theirs came out, and it was much, much thinner. I mean, I didn't expect how thin it was going to be. I thought, oh, it's not even close to a full novel. It's more like a novella. So I'm looking at it now, and I'm just like, I see a lot of spacing issues. Like the formatting is all wrong on it, and oh my gosh, what was I thinking with the cover? I redid the cover for the following year so that it was something more punchy, because when this cover came out, my niece, who was into studying to be an editor, she looked at the cover and said, this is horrible. And she said, by the way, you need to fix up the all the stuff inside your book too. So I took that advice to heart. And I just kind of pushed through, and that book got the way it is. I revised it. I tried to re-edit it. It still didn't meet the mark. And I kind of moved on after that, because I thought, I'm going to spend my entire life trying to figure out how to do this book. And as much as I loved it at the time, I also hated it. Distant Saga Trilogy, a short story trilogy, short story collection. I also shoved in my Outer Red novella in there. And at the time I didn't know it was called a novella. I was calling it a short story. It was a preview of the book that I was working on. And even I had to admit that I don't think I should have done that. I know I was trying to introduce a story in there, but it just didn't work. It seemed out of place, and it was just filler. And I get that. It was filler. I want to try to redo it. I want to try to clean it up a bit more. And I want to try to expand on the stories. The Cure, I will try to not do in a first-person narrative, because I don't think that worked in his character. I mean, it sounded good. It was good for a short story. But then the ending, yeah, I can understand why that wouldn't make any sense. But I kind of did the same thing in Long Lost War, and that kind of worked for that character. So there are some places where it's good and some places where it's bad. That, in The Cure, was... I could have done better. So I'm going to rewrite that one. I'm going to rewrite Incident at Biomoon 5. That was the story where he went undercover as an inspector to see this biomoon that was being used by the Earth government for all their disposal needs for biohazard, nuclear waste, everything going into one big moon pile kind of like thing. And that story kind of got muddled and didn't do very well either. Sorry. And, yeah, and so I'm going to try to fix that story too, because it was missing some spots. There was some, I don't want to say it was bad dialogue. It just, some of it just didn't work. I understand at the time I was trying to push out story after story, trying to get it, on there. And I did release them as short stories onto Kindle at one point, and it did nothing. So I thought if I put them all in a book, it would do something. And I was like, ugh. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, I retired those stories, and now I've retired this book. The revised edition is no more. But I will collectively start a new book, reissue that book, and I'll even put the old stories in. And I will give it a slightly new name, so then this becomes another edition of the book. It'll become a second edition of this book. Not a revised version, a second edition. The difference is that you can keep the main book as revised, just by updating a few things, but the book pretty much stays the same. If you're totally changing another book, it becomes a second edition. It becomes a brand new edition almost. So by calling it a second edition, you're saying that you essentially have the same sort of thing, but you have changed a lot of it. See, I'm learning still. I found this out on a website, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos of authors who've made this kind of call on their other books, and I thought, I'll do the same. It's strange because I'm sitting here wanting to finish my book, and here I am trying to do other books. I think I'm just sabotaging myself sometimes. I haven't published a book since 2021, and when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I collectively did all of Outer Red and published that. And then now I'm trying to fix up these stories. It shows that I've strayed from where I was. I am trying to finish up The Jungle Planet and get that out there, and I put it on Wattpad and Royal Road for anybody to look at and give me comments. But so far they've been few and far between. Putting them on there was, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just wanted to see what the reactions would be as I write this book, because I can't get on the Kindle Vella. Sorry. But that was, Kindle Vella, Canadians can't get on there. It's only for American audiences only. So I said it's kind of like Wattpad in a way, but monetized. And I mean, Wattpad can be monetized, but really, who's going to buy a free story? So, I think that in the long term, I will try to get that done first. And then this Distant Saga Trilogy, I will have to redo from top to bottom. And I'm going to take out the time travel story, like I said, because it doesn't belong there. I'm not going to update that time travel story. Time travel is... I don't want to do it. And time travel stories never do well. Never do well. And I know there's like movies on it and all that. It's a cliche now, the time travel story. If you do time travel, it's just cliche. Total cliche. And so I'm trying to get out of that. I am trying to think of like new titles, new things to do. But right now I'm focused on what I can do. So I've started a little bit of the editing and changing of some of the stories for this one, and I've pushed it to the side for now because it's not going to get done in time. Because I've got so many other books to write, and it's just like now I feel pressured as to get all these books done. And as for the SPSFC, well, the massive planet didn't pass the first phase. It did get into the first phase, but it didn't pass to go to the second, which kind of bummed me out. But you know, it's a competition. There's plenty of good books in there. Mine, I don't know what it is about my team. Other teams were doing reviews, even if it was just a few pages of what they've read, and they were giving reviews, and my team totally didn't do anything. It didn't even acknowledge my book. I mean, like, they read it, and they passed it on, but I guess the team I got weren't too much of a, I guess, blogging, but I thought they were, and I don't know, I'm confused now, because most of my team was based in the UK. And I thought, because I guess they thought I was Canadian, they went, no, I don't know. But I just wish that all of them would have, like they did. Most of the people, the other teams that were on the team, were giving criticisms of the book, and I'd even take that. But I didn't get any of that. So that's the update for that one. And it's still a good book. They still, they were still enjoyed by it. I've had a few good reviews. Actually, more reviews better than I thought they would be. And now, back to my unpublishing of Distant Saga Trilogy, so I don't stray from the topic too much like I did just now. The book, I wish I could say that I wanted to sell more copies of these. I'm glad I didn't, because when I started going over the book again, I thought, oh my gosh, what did I do here? As a writer, you tend to overlook certain things. But in this book, yeah, the formatting, yeah, it wasn't that great. Oh, I see. I've written in the book that it was published, November 3rd, 2011 on Kindle. The Cure. So it was on there originally. The End of Time was the time travel story, and it was clearly just a ripoff of Terminator. And I don't know why I did that. So that's why I'm not going to put it in. I'm going to put in a brand new story as the part of the trilogy. And I don't know if I want to call it a trilogy. It's going to be 3 novellas, so that's a trilogy of sorts. All linked. In one form or another. Mainly tragedy, I think, again. But it's mainly just a short story collection. I'm gonna call it Distant Saga Trilogy and short story and other short stories, so that it's got 3 and then more short stories after that. So I apologize to anybody that's read the book and wasn't happy with it. Not that there were many, because I didn't see many hits for this book. If you did buy it and you did enjoy it, let me know. Let me know if you did enjoy it and ease my mind about that sort of thing. But yeah, my original cover was dark. It had 3 separate covers put onto it to show that they were part of a story collection, and it just didn't look good. And then I did the new cover, which is white, and it has a few of the images from the other book, and it was kind of collected better, and it looked a little bit more professional. But, I mean, it didn't attract, so I'm not unhappy that didn't happen, but it took a long time. And I hated that I put it on Amazon Kindle Unlimited, because let me tell you, it takes a long time to generate any kind of revenue from Kindle Unlimited. I will not do it again on a Kindle Unlimited, because you get half a fraction of a cent, which is almost nothing, really, unless you're like, the reader's like, what? Like going through pages and pages. Some people have had great success on Kindle Unlimited. I have not. And I've talked to other writers, and some of them are having the same problem. It's that certain genres, yes, other genres, no. If you're into like fantasy, YA, or even romance, erotic books, they will do fantastic. Of course they will. I mean, that's what's going on around, right? Like, that's what's hot. And there's a lot of writers in that field that are just churning out that amounts of garbage that I can't stand. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the YA whatever, and I can't do the erotic stuff because I just can't. My wife says I should be writing erotic books, and I'm like going, yeah, but I don't know first thing about it. I wouldn't even know where to, like, it wouldn't sound very good. I prefer to do the science fiction, which is where I'm at. If I could put it on Vella, I would. I was actually thinking that if Vella was ever available, I would put My Professor Dark, Miss Shadow as a episodic thing on Vella, and that would work for that show or book or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know why they call them episodes now, because it's writing. You're writing like short stories each time, and now they're calling them episodes, which is confusing to me because it's not a TV show. But here we are. In any case, yes, I am discontinuing the book. I will reformat and reboot this book into a new edition, a second edition, and I will change a good structuring of this book because it's long overdue. I said that I wouldn't go back. At one time I said I wouldn't look back, I wouldn't do it, but then I was, talking and listening to other writers on their blogs and whatever, and it made sense to go back and reformat a book, even if you just want to like correct something that you still had hopes for it. I still have hopes for this, so I may go back and just redo it, but I don't know if it'll be right now. I got too many other books to do, and and so I've still got all my other books still out there. I encourage everybody to go out there, read them, give me reviews. Oh my gosh, do I need reviews? I see a lot of people taking them, but no reviews. And I don't want to harp on people about, give me a review, dang it, no. But, I mean, if you enjoy the book, let me know. Reviews are a good way. Sending me a comment is another way. Spreading the word, even better. Getting more out there. I'm doing my best to what I got, and right now, I am focused on some other stuff. It's been a hard year, very hard year for me, and I'm trying my best to work my way through it, get stuff out, and writing. Yeah, I'm trying to write a chapter as much as I can. So I want to get the Jungle Planet out of the way, and then I can work on Space Rockers, which was my other book I'm working on, and get that one out. And then I'm still working on the Long Lost Wars sequel prequel book. And then I'm also working on two follow-ups to The Massive Planet, The Adventures of Deep Contact. So I've got two books. One is sort of a step back to when they launched, and the other book will pick up where they left off from the last book, the very first book. And that's where I'm at right now, just to let you all know. And I'll get back to you when I can. So yeah, if you're trying to find the Distant Saga Trilogy, it's probably only available on audio now. So there you go. And we'll talk again later. Hopefully my voice is better, and hopefully I'm feeling better. Okay, bye for now. This has been a Jeff Walker's Books discussion. If you like this program, please subscribe. And if you want to read more of his books, The Long Lost War, The Massive Planet, The Mysterious World of Professor Dark and Miss Shadow, please visit his website at jeffwalkerbooks.weebly.com. Please, if you feel the need to review one of his books, he would be ever so grateful that you would. You may go and visit it on Amazon or anywhere else where books are now available.